Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the channel where today I'm doing a double review of The Haunting of Alejandra and Queen of the Cicadas by Mexican-American author Violet Castro, which has been a past guest of the channel and podcast. So check out my first interview with her. I'll leave a link in the description below, and our conversation around the ayahuasca ritual that where I also hosted Dr. Goodwin, where we talk about that ritual from a medical and also from a spiritual point of view. Really interesting conversation. Check it out. But let's get on with the books. Not what I expected. Not what I expected. Queen of the Cicadas and the Flame Tree Press, which is a horror imprint, and Haunting of Alejandra by Titan Books. Now, they're meant to be horror stories. You have paranormal events, you got ghosts, monsters, afterlife, revenge, there's blood, there's gore, there's even some spicy moments, but very little. So I was expecting a horror story with brushstrokes of Miss Castro's heritage. She when we did the conversation and the interview, she makes a point of introducing her Mexican roots and adding that sort of flavor and that context to the stories, which is great. However, what I found here is much more of the platitudes of the Mexican immigrants' loss of identity in the US, and her opinions and stance on female issues, and the horror takes a massive backseat, which I don't have an issue with. It was just a disparity between expectations and the reality of the books. So I wouldn't recommend these books on the basis of the horror, which is there, but like I said, very backside, and it's got a much more heavy take on working women, the issues of women losing their identity and the purpose when they become stay-at-home moms, and all that sort of thing, added on to the fact that Mexican immigrants losing contact with the roots and trying to reconnect with the heritage and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, completely different sort of themes, really. So I found them interesting. I would say that The Haunting of Alejandra is much heavier on the issues faced by women, stay-at-home moms, that sort of lose themselves, and their sense of identity is just reduced to their role as mothers. And Miss Castro makes her opinions very clear. She doesn't hold back any punches. There's no subtlety at all. And personally, I just wish that the take was maybe a bit more nuanced, because like in this book, like none of the men are good, really. I mean, the husband is almost this mustache twirling evil guy, which sort of your classical super conservative man works, provides for the family, wife is expected to stay at home, look after the kids, which I think 2025, 21st century, I'm not saying people like that don't exist. I think it's more or less likely than it was a few decades ago, because these days, I think in this day and age, pretty much your average family, you've got a working mum and dad, possibly, right? Certainly my case, a lot of people that I know, which is not to demean from the message that she's trying to put across. That's what you find here. Queen of the Cicadas focuses more on her trying to go back to the roots and the loss of identity by being a second, third generation immigrant in the US. And that was quite interesting. But once again, the way men are depicted here is that none of them are good. No, there's no male character that has got any good traits, with the exception of the homosexual man and the billionaire that falls for the protagonist. So those are the only two good men in the story. Make of that what you will. So you're going to find that. And I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just telling it like it is. And that's for you to decide whether that works for you or not. Once again, I wish there had been a slightly more nuanced take on it. Both books play with different timelines. So you've got events taking place in the present time, and then you've got callbacks to like prior generations where issues maybe of generational or cross-generational trauma, how that gets passed on and certain behaviors are learned and perpetuated going down. So again, it's quite interesting stuff. But again, I just wish there was a slightly more nuanced take. But I'm just wondering whether I am asking for an excuse or for a reason, or whether that's a fair criticism and labeling at the books. Leveling at the books. Let me know. So, glad that I've read the books. Glad that I had my conversations with Miss Castro. Possibly will pick up more of her stories or books. I just wish her views and opinions were a bit more subtle. So get the reader to think a little bit more about it rather than present them in such a blunt way, and play more on the horror elements for my take, because having read other books from Flame Tree Press, there is a very big step down on the horror elements compared to other authors in there. But anyway, these are my thoughts, my opinions for what they're worth on Queen of the Cicadas and the Haunting of Alejandra by Violet Castro. Please check her out. Check my interview and my conversation with her. I'll leave a link in the description below. Take loads and lots of care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.